Hi, so Access Databases, Module 5 of the ECDL qualification, Section 4, Editing. So we're looking at changing column width, datasheet view and design view, finding text, editing, deleting data. Talk a little bit about wildcards, the good use of undo, always helpful in Access, and finally adding, deleting records, whether it's a table or a form. So if you want to come along with me, using the club demo database. Okay then, so we've got the club table open and we've got some columns here. We did talk about in a previous area about right clicking on columns to get the field widths and column widths. Remember, you've got the junction like you have in Excel, you've got an auto fit like that. You can highlight more than, just click out, you can highlight more than one column and you can squash them all together in one go. I'll just click away again. Let's highlight the first three and then bring them in, and you can see how that you get the hashes when a column isn't wide enough, so you can use that feature to autofill and bring them all out again. Auto fit, or best fit they call in here. If you go for row height, you'll get a standard height and then you can put things in, and the same for a column. So you can do that on multiple. You can see all of them come together as well. So you can do all those things. So adjusting those, moving columns is another thing you do. So you can grab them, you can move them around. If you're in the design view, you can also do that. So you can grab a column, move it about and move it back. You can insert in here with regard to fields if you're creating somewhere and want them in a new place. Generally we add them at the end. But also at the front, if you just say yes, you can also insert a new field. But not good practice if you're going in here, because then you've got to give it a name, etc. So we're just going to delete that. Always double checks and back into the front end. Each time you notice how it double checks, and it also gets you to resave things moving between the design view and the datasheet view. We did say earlier that if you want to use this find or search feature, then you have to select a field that you're searching in, any of the data in that field, because data can, as you know, be the same in different fields. So you need to specify what it is you're looking for and then find next, and then it will come up like that. So that's pretty straightforward. Wildcards, that's something we can talk about. We will talk about it more when we come to doing our queries, but there are things like wildcards, and there is a question mark, a hash, and a asterisk or a star on your keyboards. So a question mark will represent a character. So you could have some names. You could start a query with J-O, and you could put in a question mark, and it'll bring up Joe, but wouldn't bring up Joanne. You could have a hash instead of a numeric character, so that you've had phone numbers with the same code at the front. You could use that. And the best one of all is the asterisk or the star, because that one will follow any character that follows. So it represents not only data but also alphabetical characters, so it acts as both. So it's really useful tool. So have a look at that with regard to using these. Other things are pretty straightforward. If you're over typing information, if it's a club ref, if I was going to put in 250 instead of 260 and try and enter it, it's worked. But if it didn't exist, it wouldn't work. If it's not one of the ones that's in there. So it's just a matter of over typing. If they ask you to change data, that's what you do. Remember that if you put in 6 January 2008, like that, you might need to make sure that you've got a bit of a space. January 08. And then you enter. We'll put it into the right format, so it's quite clever in that way. So that's wildcards. and editing. So it's quite a simple area. A really good button is the undo in Access. So if you started to do something in here that wasn't acceptable and it started screaming at you okay, and then you try to get out and it starts doing all of this and you can't can't get out, the best thing to do is use the undo button because it undoes the last thing you did, and it might be something to do with you try to do something with a record, wasn't allowed due to the primary key stopping it, things like that. So make sure that you use the undo key if you get stuck. Also, you can right click and you can delete records. It'll always check with you, but remember that you're always doing a copy, so that if you do anything wrong, then you can sort it out. Just to point out a couple of other things. If we open up a form, in a table we've done a right click and delete a record, and that's fine, but in a form, let's just have a little look at this. Open one up. If you want to delete a form, you have to select the form using this sidebar here and then delete. The reason is that forms are stacked up on top of each other automatically. So if you just hit delete totally, then all go. Or if you click in areas like this and use a backspace, then you're just deleting data. So you don't want to do that. So it's deleting a form is selecting it there and then up into the area to delete. The other thing I wanted to mention is notice there's no page layout tab in Access. So if you want to see things like print preview and things like that, and the layouts, if you go into your file tab and into the print area and then print preview, it's in here that you can access all those things like portrait and landscape, your margins, pretty much the sort of things that you would generally find in a page layout tab, as well as some other things as well. And then to go back to your database in the sheet you were in before, you just close that print preview and you'll go back into your form. If I was in a table and I went to File, Print and then Print Preview, I can see what's going to come out on the print and then close and go back in. So make sure that you're aware of how to use that, particularly if you're asked in the test to change something, maybe to landscape or otherwise. Okay, so there's not really a lot going on with editing. You can have a little look around all of these things. I've got stuff up here, but there's an awful lot going on right clicks as well. And we're going to be looking at sorting and filtering in section 5 next. Okay, thank you.